Hey, Ohio, welcome once again to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton of Axum Planning and Wealth. I'm Spike Spangle. We like to help you with your retirement planning strategies. Mr. Tim Lofton, how you doing this week and what's on your mind?
Well, we're going to talk about how to win in retirement and how you stick to the fundamentals to make that happen.
All right. Many of the teams out there, we know that no matter what's going on out there, if you're sticking to the fundamentals, stick to the game plan,
right,
you've got a good chance. But you've also have that background and you were say, putting together that plan, 90% of it is putting it together. Another 10% is sometimes planning for everything that can go wrong.
Right. Well, as Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face.
That's right. He proved it on an airplane. I did. He said, don't stand up to him. Really? It's Mike Tyson. But sticking to the fundamentals, very, very important. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of excitement right now around the country. And a lot of it is about what is going to happen economically. Everything from taxes to watching our stock markets, sometimes right now holding around all-time highs. But industries are changing, regulations are changing very, very quickly. And that's why I think it's a great message to make sure that you're sticking to the fundamentals. But you need to know what your fundamentals are. Starting with, I guess, let's go with our investment strategy. What is one way that we can stay with our fundamentals as we move into retirement?
Well, I think one of the ways to really stick with the fundamentals as we're in retirement is by not sticking to old fundamentals. These are the things that maybe we thought to be true, the 4% rule, 60-40, all those different things that maybe in decades past worked that don't work today. So sometimes it's a matter of avoiding things, and that is a fundamental.
Right. Hey, you know what? You like talking about it. We can talk about the great Ohio State and national champions from this year.
Oh, did they win again?
Yeah, they won a game or two.
National championship.
They won a game or two from the end.
They lost the game up north, and so that's
all
that's all
folks
people talk about.
Ever talk about.
I know, right?
So it's not a winning season, even with the championship crystal football. If you lose to Michigan.
Yeah, we lost the first game by 1 point that we shouldn't have lost to the team that was the number one in the country, which later became not the number one in the country, and we lost the Michigan game. I mean, 2 games.
All right,
two games.
I'm going to take it back though for folks. It's not the sports desk; it's the financial desk. But here's the thing.
Here we go.
Here's the thing. I will apply it to Ohio State. There's no way that they would have won this championship if they had stuck to the exact same fundamentals, both of recruiting and of game plan, of 20 or 30 years ago. This coach had to adapt. This coach, a lot of folks like yourself were angry at him in the middle of the year. He had to adapt to the landscape of what's going on today. Everything from the transfer portal to how the game has changed. So with our investments, what kind of things do we need to possibly call some audibles on in the next 20 or 30 years? You said the 60-40 and the drawdown.
Right.
Any other concerns?
Well, fundamentally, we know that taxes are going to happen. Maybe they'll change, maybe they'll be different than they are today, but they aren't going away. And inflation is going to happen. Might be the same as today, might be the same as 10 years ago, we don't know. But we do know that those things are going to happen. We understand that taxes and inflation are a slow erosion of purchasing power. Simply put, you're losing ground every single year. And so we have to have a plan that increases income, that has a growth component to it, just to stay ahead of the curve.
The fundamentals of 30 or 40 years ago of retirement were work someplace for 30 or 40 years, get your pension plan, let that work for you for the rest of your life, and you'll be okay. But those fundamentals have changed.
So back to football. If we had played Oregon the same way the second time that we played them the first time, it wouldn't have gone the same way. We saw what the landscape was. We made adjustments. Retirement is exactly the same. We know the things that are out there. We've got to pick the right players on the field, call the right plays. And here's the thing. You don't have to be the coach. You don't have to be the quarterback. We can take that role for you. We can come alongside you and make sure that your team going down to the field goal actually scores.
Now, the fundamentals of your investment strategy, those have changed because you're moving to retirement instead of accumulating assets. So you might need a totally different kind of team. Now, the fundamentals of Axum Planning and Wealth, what you do, those haven't changed. but somebody might be working with a team, a strategy that, like you said, failed during the Oregon game, to talk your guys speak in Ohio, failed during that game, but changed later on.
Right.
And oh my gosh, it was a blowout. Don't you want your retirement to be a blowout?
For sure, for sure. And it's not that hard. That's the thing. You know, so much of retirement planning is a math equation. It's a math equation that supports what your goals are. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to have happen? Do you want to pass money on? Do you want to have extra money for those special trips? Do you want to spend it on your grandkids? Whatever it is, let's figure out a way to make that happen. We can call the plays for you. We know the team to put on the field for different situations, and that's what you need when it comes to retirement.
But to take from those fundamentals of decades ago in creating a pension, I like the idea of using that as a concept, but trying to use the assets that we've accumulated to create my own pension plan. So do we do that primarily from the 401ks? Do we use other kinds of tools, other kinds of things, or do we have to figure out the math and the growth and the taxes and the inflation and hope, cross our fingers, we don't run out of money? Kind of a Hail Mary of our retirement.
Well, we want to make sure that we can have that pension generation experience. What was so great about that was it was easy. I knew how much income was going to come in every single month. I couldn't outlive it. I had that money coming in for me and potentially my spouse. You can create a personal pension plan in the same manner. By doing that, it's a matter of backing into how much income do you need, what amount of assets does it take to generate that income, what's the taxation on that income, and that frees up the rest of those dollars. It gives them the job of growth. That's how we're going to keep pace with inflation and taxes over time.
If you don't have a fundamental strategy for your own retirement income, your taxes, your estate plan, your healthcare selections, you can start that right now by calling the phone number down on the bottom of the screen and get started on your own, no cost, retirement blueprint. Dial that phone number, use the QR code if you want to with your phone, open up the camera function and point it at this QR code. Click on it, you can schedule an appointment right there. But stay seated right where you're at right now. We have an important message about both Social Security and market volatility that Tim has put together. Watch this message. We'll be right back.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens of ways that you can take Social Security if you're single, and hundreds if you're married. You've paid into the system for decades. Don't you want to make sure that you optimize your retirement income? Depending on how you've set up your other retirement accounts, your Social Security could either be tax-free or up to 85% taxable. It's not as simple as it might seem. So give us a call today. Let us uncomplicate Social Security for your retirement. Give us a call at 855-684-3485, or you can scan the QR code below to schedule your complimentary review. You know, one of the things that we're seeing in the office today is people are coming in with statements that are down 15, 20, 30%, and they're still needing that same income withdrawal, which means the percentage they're taking out from their portfolio is now higher, which increases that risk of running out of money in retirement. This is where planning for volatility really comes into play, and it's the biggest shift that we're making for new people coming in our office, trying to help them recover what they've lost, but also make sure that they don't run into that same situation down the road. When you're looking at retirement planning versus pre-retirement planning, that's the difference. One is about accumulation. It's about growing your money over time. Once you get to retirement, it's about distribution, which is a different strategy. At our office, what we focus on is giving jobs to the money. It's making sure that the dollars that we need to produce income have that volatility removed. That allows us to take risk in other areas because we have our income figured out. If volatility has been an issue, if you're looking at your statement right now and it's down 15, 20, 30%, do you know how you're going to get back? Do you know what you're going to do in the future if that happens again? If you don't, Sit down with us for a complimentary review. Let us design a retirement blueprint to help you retire and, more importantly, stay retired.
Welcome back. You are here with Tim Lofton sitting on the other side of the desk over there. And what's interesting about that market volatility message you just had there, it was at a time when there was a 15-20% drop.
Yeah.
This was a little bit back a few months ago, but now our markets are back up. But here's the thing. Do you want to be playing that volatility roller coaster as you go into retirement?
And I can't imagine that anyone does. You know, when you have money coming in from working, volatility really doesn't play in. If you're in your 30s, your 40s, even your 50s sometimes, you're not worried about it because it's a different experience than, you know, imagine back in 2008, you know, for most of us, we were working. I didn't really care about the volatility. Like, you know, the way I looked at it is I'm getting to buy the market on sale, and I know eventually it's going to come back, and I don't really need that money for a long period of time. But when you're in retirement and you're depending on the income that's coming out of what you've saved, and it drops 10, 15, 20, 30%, I mean, it can be devastating. The emotion behind it, the anxiety it can create, and the thing is, it's avoidable. We can avoid that volatility. We can avoid that anxiety by having a proper plan in place to keep us on track.
And that's why it's so important to be talking about these fundamentals, because the fundamentals during your accumulation years were ignore the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Your dollar cost averaging, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about that till later. But if you're close to retirement or in retirement, you're in the later. So you have to be paid. So your fundamentals of how you treat your portfolio have to change in retirement. Now, this doesn't mean completely take your foot off of risk. It doesn't mean there's one tool or one solution, but we need to combine everything together and kind of figure out what is a growth that can withstand a little bit of ups and downs to help you beat taxes, inflation over time without risking too much.
With the right money, with the right account, for the right reason. And that's, again, it's that separation, Spike. You know, we talk about giving jobs to the money on every show for a reason, because it's different. That's not what the industry tells you. The industry says you can put it all together and take a systematic withdrawal of income and you'll be fine. But we know historically that that's not true anymore. So when we are able to divide and conquer, we have this portion of money over here that has to produce income. There is no volatility to it. That way, if we see volatility in the market, it doesn't impact our income. Our income stays exactly the same. Why? Because our bills stay exactly the same. It can't go down. That money that we have over here for growth, not age dependent, job dependent. We've got our income figured out. We're in a 30-year retirement. Volatility is allowable with a portion of our money.
Sticking to fundamentals, and today we're talking about how do you win at retirement. We're trying to give you fundamental strategies, and not all of them apply to every single person, but some of these fundamentals for us are creating an income plan, an income flow that you literally can't run out of. One of these fundamental tools is the A word, okay?
You're going to say the A word?
I got to be careful with the
Okay.
SEC. All right, but annuities.
Annuities.
Yes, being
Okay.
careful there.
Okay.
The annuity is a tool that can provide it, but as we've said before, there's either emotional reaction to it or a confusion. Either how much there is in fees, costs, do my family members be able to receive what is left over? If I haven't used all of the income, will it pass to my spouse? A lot of things that are confusing about it, and so they leave it out of their plan, but it can be a fundamentally solid tool.
And there's actually firms out there that tell you that it's never a good idea. Any firm that would tell me that something that has $400 billion a year going into it is never a good idea is not somebody that I want to work with. What I'm looking for is not the name of the tool or the solution, but the outcome of what that means. If I'm looking for income and I want it guaranteed and I don't want to outlive it, an annuity could potentially be a really good fix. Versus bonds or CDs that have interest rate risk that go up and down, it can be a very powerful tool if you have the right one for the right reason, in the right account, and that you are truly getting the best of what's out there. We have software when it comes to annuities and life insurance that actually looks at all the different A-rated companies out there and will show us this one will pay us the most, this one is the least expensive. We're able to really dial that in so that when somebody leaves our office, we know they're getting the number one.
Right. And another one of them is that, well, this thing is illiquid. I'm signing into a contract. Look, all kinds of investment tools have some sort of loss factor. For instance, if you're trying to take out a large sum of money because you have an emergency from your investments and the market is down, you're going to take that money out at a loss and you're still going to have to pay taxes on it. One of the biggest misconceptions I think on this tool is people say it's illiquid. To a certain extent it is, but they usually say you can pull out about 10% a year. Well, I say if it's a $300,000 or $400,000 annuity and it's a portion of your life savings, what kind of $30,000 or $40,000 emergency are you having that year? Right. And where should you fundamentally have an emergency fund?
Well, and I think when that is a consideration, the plan was broken someplace else. You know, we have in our live events, we talk about, we have case studies of clients that have come in, and it's one of my favorite case studies. We had a couple, they had $1 million of IRA money. They needed $40,000 a year of income. They came in, they were working with another firm. The guy that they were working with was actually a CFP, so I mean, clearly he should know what he's doing. And they had a very traditional, easy, just, I looked at it and I'm like, this looks like literally something right out of the textbook, right? It's a 60-40 portfolio. They're going to take a 4% withdrawal rate and it should be fine. We ran the Monte Carlo simulation, which is a probability of success, and it had a 78% chance of working out. Why? Because the 4% rule is no good anymore. People are living longer. We took that same $1 million and we said, how do we get $40,000 out of this? What is the least amount we could put in? And in their case, at the time we ran the example, $500,000 was going to give them $40,000. That $500,000 is illiquid. That $500,000 is probably going to go away, but they're going to have lifetime income because that's its job. The $500,000 that's now left over that was sitting in a 60-40 portfolio that in 2022 was down 17%, now is in growth mode. And we're not 60-40, we're taking more risk with it because we have 30 years to grow it. That 500,000 turns into $1 million, turns into $2 million, turns into $4 million. The 500,000 was a rounding error, and it fixed their lifetime income. Those are the types of adjustments that you can make, having the same amount of money, different strategies, completely different outcome.
Oh my God. First of all, I want to say truly, I almost have goosebumps because you explained it in a way, it's like, look, we portioned off part of this. That is going to be stable income. That's going to stay in here. It'll be relatively illiquid, but it's there for emergencies. But then you took the other half of it and you can put that into a growth liquid portfolio that will have a little bit more exposure to the markets, but you can control the risk. And that $500,000 doesn't have to stay $500,000 or whatever the amount, $100,000 or $1 million or $2 million. You can grow that over time.
Right.
Because your income is coming from this tool and your Social Security and maybe other investment accounts.
I just turned that other money into 30-year money. And so think about this. If you're 65 years old and that's 30-year money, that's the same way you would have invested it at 35. It's the same money, but it's a different approach versus, again, putting it all together. It really makes sense. If you just stop and think about it, there's other ways to do retirement than maybe what you've currently seen. You don't know what you don't know. Take a time to click on that QR code down there. Come in and see us. Let us take a minute to get to know you. Let us build a plan. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But come find out why so many people decided to work with us. Because our solutions are different. They work, and over the long term, you can definitely be better off by having the right plan.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. In fact, the tool over here that Tim is talking about, so easy today. Open up your phone to the camera function, point it at this QR code, click on it. You can go schedule your own appointment right now, or you're welcome to use the phone number down on the bottom of the screen. More of the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton right after this.
The mistake that we see with a lot of people coming into our office is that they made a projection of how much money they were going to need maybe 20 years ago, and they didn't account for inflation in those figures. The average retiree is going to spend at least 20 years in retirement. That means that the cost of living is going to double at least one time. For example, if somebody 20 years ago said, I'm going to need $40,000 for my investments in retirement, that number is only worth $20,000 now. And so they actually needed to make sure they were looking for $80,000 if $40,000 net was their number back then. So as we're looking at the income needed in retirement, we have to have a plan in place that's going to double our income over that same period, or we're going to have to reduce our lifestyle, which is not what we worked all our lives for. Those are the types of things that we try and help clients with as they're planning out their future retirement to make sure that taxes and inflation are covered in those projections. If taxes and inflation are keeping you up at night, give us a call. Sit down, let us do a complimentary review with you and design your very own retirement blueprint. It's our trademark process that we've designed over the last 30 years to help you retire and stay retired. Do you own a business? Or maybe you have real estate, like investment properties or apartments. Here's my question. What happens if there's an accident and you get sued? I'm not an attorney, and I'm not here to talk to you about lawsuits. What I'm here to do is to tell you how you can protect what you've worked so hard for. That is what asset protection is. And we do it in our office with our estate planning attorneys. We talk about things like LLCs, making sure that you have a trust that will protect you in the event that something happens. If this or anything else like this has been on your to-do list, give us a call today. Let us take a look at what you're currently doing and see if we can make it better. 855-684-3485, or you can scan the QR code below and schedule your very own complimentary review. Let us make sure that your tomorrow is protected.
Welcome back. It is that time of the show, financial news or noise.
Fact or fiction.
Oh man, I'm liking this. All right. In retirement, fact or fiction, Tim, it doesn't matter which accounts you take from to create your income plan because it's all your money. What does it matter which accounts I take from? Fact or fiction?
Well, truth, it is a fact that it is your money. Fiction, that it doesn't matter where it comes from. Spike, it absolutely matters where it comes from because all different types of accounts are taxed differently. So how in the world can I just pull out my money from any account and not worry about what the tax implication might be?
Yeah. Should we start with larger accounts first? You're thinking, all right, this one's got a longer time. It's going to last longer. Do we do the tax deferred? If we get into the non-taxed accounts, and then our Roths and, should I turn on Social Security first or should I turn on an annuity? Should we take from my wife's account first or should we take it all from mine first? I mean, come on, it's confusing.
Your DraftKings account? I mean, who knows?
I can't believe you went there. Look, folks, please be careful with the gambling apps. Story after story is coming. I just read one today about a wife is suing one of these gambling companies online. Husband lost $900,000 in there. Be careful, gambling folks.
Yeah. Here's the thing, in all seriousness, when you're looking at the whole idea of where that money is going to come from and how it's going to be taxed, it really starts with defining what your goals are. We have to build that income base. What is the income base going to be like? We'll figure out what account we need to take it from for you. We'll figure out the tax strategy, but all of this works together. There is no evergreen one-size-fits-all advice in this world. Unfortunately, that's what the industry seems to give us. Everybody should do this, nobody should do that, here's the gold standard. It doesn't work that way, folks. Every person that's watching this show right now is sitting in a chair differently than everybody else. You have a different family dynamic. You have to dial in to what your needs are specifically to your family. And that starts with building a plan. Not figuring out where you're going to take the money from, but figuring out how, when, why, where, making sure we understand the tax and what is that going to mean long-term in a 30-year retirement.
So it's a clear fiction that it doesn't matter. Clearly, it does matter which accounts we take from. But can we start to simplify these things, though, in retirement? Now, here's the thing. I know that you can take IRAs and eventually you can start to combine them on your own. But you can't necessarily take my 401k and put it together with a spouse's 401k.
No.
So we're going to have a few accounts in retirement, and I think
that's okay.
Okay.
You know, we're looking at the plan collectively, but we're also looking at it individually and granularly. So we're going to look at the overall need for income, how we go about and what accounts we pull it from, what accounts are going to be in growth, what accounts are going to be in income. That's to be determined by the plan.
Okay. Do you mind if I try to squeeze in a very short one? Because
One more.
This one just came in from our producer as well. Fact or fiction, once you retire, you don't have the same need for life insurance.
You may not. That may be a fact. If your life insurance was, let's say, to pay off the mortgage, and you've already paid off the mortgage, you may not need it. You may have a completely new set of needs when it comes to life insurance. It might be for long-term care. It might be to pass money on. It might be to replace Social Security or pension loss if your spouse passes away. It may be to even provide tax-free income similar to a Roth IRA. The needs change. It may not change the product, or it may change the product. It really just depends.
Okay, so still continuing to use life insurance. We've discussed a whole bunch of things. We started out the program with finding strategies for winning your retirement, and throughout the program it was stick to the fundamentals. But a lot of the fundamentals have changed. 60-40 portfolio, 4% rule. We need to know what the fundamentals are for your home economy, and that starts with the retirement blueprint.
It really does.
So you can get started on the retirement blueprint. Why don't you take us through just a few of the elements that will happen actually in that very first appointment?
So your very first appointment is real simple. When you click on that QR code and set up an appointment, it's going to generate an email that's going to tell you what to bring. And when you show up, you don't have to know the answers or the questions to anything about retirement. That's our job. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we're pretty good at it. We're going to figure out exactly what you need, what you want your retirement to look like. We're going to craft a retirement blueprint to meet those needs.
Thank you so much, Tim Lofton. Winning in retirement can look different for everyone. Is it spending more time with the family? Is it creating hobbies and a lifestyle that you've always wanted to now that you have the freedom to do it? Income is the outcome in retirement. We want to make sure that you stick to the fundamentals, even though some of the fundamentals for retirement planning strategies might be changing. Call right now and get your own retirement blueprint started so you'll know exactly how to put together the winning strategies for your own retirement. It is no cost to you. Thank you for watching. Call the number. We'll be back next week.